What's up, Fairbanks? How you doing? Fairbanks, North Star Borough, surrounding areas. How are you guys doing today? My name is Tilden.
And I'm Brandon.
Jeff.
And this is 36. We have a special guest for you today. Keenan, how you doing? He owns Pakalolo. Pakalolo. And we've got a good conversation planned for you today. So you guys just sit tight and allow us to do our thing. And I hope you enjoy the conversation. Right. And so on that note, before we get into the details, thank you for coming out.
Hey, man,
and being a part of our third episode of 36 to Podcast. So just a quick recap, 36 to Podcast, it was three of us sitting around this particular table one day, and we were like, you know what? We have some pretty interesting conversations, and we meet a lot of interesting people around this table, people who are just passing through, and then, of course, the locals, and everybody has got a pretty interesting story. So one day we were like, you know what? This would make a pretty good podcast. So here we are.
Cool.
And we're doing this podcast, and we want to make this a community thing, and anybody within the community that's doing something out there that's positive and has got a positive story to tell, then they're going to be invited to be a guest. And also, have discussions over 36 ounces of beer.
Love it.
All right. So on that note, before we get started, though, before I do forget, the Summer Series concerts, are you planning on bringing those back?
We're doing our best to try to bring them back. Last year, the Gold Panners Field was under renovations, and now it's beautiful and amazing. Okay. And so we didn't get to use the field for our normal festival last year.
Gotcha.
But we are trying to see if we can schedule with the Gold Panners. We've been talking to them and about getting a date set and seeing if we can make something happen, get everybody dancing on Groudon Park again this year. Gotcha.
Good deal. Yeah, because I do miss those. And it was starting to become an annual thing that people were looking forward to.
That was definitely our goal, was it to be like a yearly thing and do it every summer, just have something people mark their calendars for.
Yeah.
And then, last year they, some needed upgrades to the field.
Gotcha.
Now it's amazing, and so it'll be even better for us when we do get back on there.
Okay.
And so, now we're kind of just like, okay, it's kind of a little bit last minute when they finally are kind of like, okay, we can try to get you on the schedule.
Right.
Us getting a date, and now we're kind of in the process of like, all right, do we have time to get the bookings done? And,
all right.
What can we do to get people dancing again?
Got you. Okay, so this is called 36 to Podcast, and like I said, it started over us having conversations over beer. So I see you in here quite often. What is your beer of choice?
Oh, my beer of choice here is typically the New England IPA.
Okay, so you're an IPA guy too.
Yeah.
Brandon?
I like that New England.
It's the best.
Jeff? IPA? I'm not feeling the IPAs, man.
What's your?
Oh, well, so I'm a Pilsner guy, right? I'm a Pilsner guy, and don't laugh, but when I'm not here, my beer of choice is Miller Lite. But but you laugh, but whenever I go into my local spot to pick up my tall boy, I can never find a Miller Lite because they're always sold out. Because apparently a lot of people like Miller Lite.
Hey, must be popular, right?
Exactly.
And you're spending a lot less money on beer than me.
Oh yeah. Okay, now so let's see here. Let's talk about today's cask. And today's cask, and everybody has their own sample. It's the American IPA. And it's conditioned with organic pear juice. So I'm about to take a little sippy sip, and we're going to test out this American IPA with pear juice. Oh, okay.
That's tasty. It's not that bad.
Yeah. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all, actually. If I could get an IPA that tasted like this 100% of the time, I'd probably be an IPA guy, too. Yeah, so I think it's pretty good.
Do you think I like the IPAs because it's like skunky, funky, kind of like the weed?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that hoppiness is kind of like a boom. It's like an acquired taste, I'm thinking.
The two plants are cousins.
Yeah, I was going to say,
very
the plants
similar.
are related.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
When I first started drinking IPAs, the guy that kind of introduced me to him, that's exactly what he said. It reminded him a lot of weed.
Yeah, it kind of has a skunky, funky, yeah.
Wow. You know what, though? I never even put that together, but okay, so that does make a lot of sense.
There's a lot of crossover between like our industry and the craft brew industry with like the flavors and you know, all of that.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into some questions for you.
Cool.
All right, so the first question I have for you is, what inspired you to start your cannabis business?
Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of a cool story. My sister has epilepsy.
Okay.
And so she was kind of dealing with trying to get her epilepsy under control. It was a new thing for her as a youth. Like, I think it was like 11 and 12 when it started. Mm-hmm. And she was dealing with that for a few years with, like, hardcore pharmaceuticals.
Oh, wow.
And we saw a documentary on CNN that was the Sanjay Gupta weed documentary that featured the little girl named Charlotte Figge.
Yep.
That kind of sweep the nation, really big deal, where they found the strains, where they started breeding the CBD directly into the strains, get the THC out as much as possible, because the little girl didn't need the psychoactive. But they found that the CBD was an anti-seizure. And so it was like kind of this big kind of discovery in the medical community, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta did this whole documentary about it. It really was kind of inspiring for my family, who was already pretty weed friendly.
Right.
And
right.
Like, me and my friends were hobby growing and having fun with it. My mom was kind of like, hey, we know what's up. Like, we know you and your friends enjoy it. Can you make medicine for your sister? Is that like a possibility?
Oh, really?
Because, you know, it's like some light at the end of the tunnel when you see it working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this little girl was like, you know, 2 or 3 years old in the documentary, and she was having like seizures all day, basically in a wheelchair bound and all that. And then she started becoming a little girl again with the medicine.
Yeah.
And she was like taking tinctures, and so it was kind of like wow, could that help my sister, who had much less of a case, but still was really affecting her life at that time.
Right.
And so, you know, we kind of started on that phase, like we were all kind of hobby growing, and then like, all right, let's see what we can do to obtain the right seeds and genetics to grow medicine.
Oh, man, interesting. Now, so when you say your mom asked you to make medicine for your sister, but you guys were teenagers in high school?
No, we were older than that.
Okay.
We were adults. It was in the
okay, so
2010 to 2012 time frame.
Okay, so you did have access to turn your cannabis or your weed into like a pharmacy, or I mean, so because somebody has to know how to extract it in order to make it.
Yeah, I mean, you can extract it a lot of different ways. Like some extractions can be done just simply with like butter to make it into something that you can eat.
Okay.
Right. So like that was kind of our plan. Use coconut oil, use butter, make like little treats, little gummies or something like that. So because basically the delivery method can be all these different things. It can be a tincture type. It can be a capsule, like a pill.
Yeah.
Or it can be, for some people it's smoking. For some people it's edibles. It's a gummy.
Yeah.
Basically you're just trying to get the dose of whether it be, for some people it's THC. For other people it's CBD. My sister specifically, it was CBD. We wanted to get her as pure CBD as we could. That's what we kind of saw on the documentary was working. Yeah. And so it was like, all right, well, what can we do to grow these like low THC strains of weed that are just full of CBD that can potentially be medicine?
Oh, nice. Okay. Now, so currently, how is she doing currently?
Great. Oh, okay. She's one of our lead growers. She waters the plants down at Pakalolo 5 days a week.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. Good deal. All right. So let's talk about legalities. How has the legal landscape affected your operations? Because I know it's probably been a long road to get from where you started to where you are now. Yeah.
I mean, back then we were doing it kind of under the operation of like there was a law in effect, or I guess a court case in effect called the Raven court case, where it kind of makes it to where home growing here in Alaska was kind of decriminalized.
Yes.
So we felt like
so what year was that?
12 to we legalized in
okay.
14.
Okay, all right.
So then we, I was kind of doing that hobby, small grow, just trying to see if we could make something happen.
Right.
We had heard legalization was coming down the pipe. Let's
Right.
kind of like prepare for that a little bit. At
Yeah.
the time, basically, when we saw the whole legalization movement and marijuana policy project coming to Alaska to
Yep.
try to make it happen,
Yep.
that was when like I jumped in both feet and like started helping out on campaigns and holding up signs on the side of the road and like let's do this. I've seen what it's done for my sister and other people. I can speak from that perspective to the public about
Gotcha.
like what we have going here, and it's not just a bunch of guys that want to get high.
Got you.
There's a lot of aspects to why we should legalize.
Got you. Now, so were you ever involved in any advocating as far as Juneau is concerned, or?
I mean, I never traveled to Juneau, but I did a lot of the Fairbanks advocacy here. I spoke at Borough Assembly, City Council meetings. During the state board meetings, I typically was doing the call-in.
Right.
And so I was, I spoke at many board meetings. I didn't really expect that, like, this whole legalization thing, when it was starting, was going to turn me into a politician for a couple of years.
Right.
And I really had to, like, learn how to politic and learn how to speak in political forums and
Right.
things like that to try to advocate for this thing. I thought it was going to be a lot more like holding up signs, rah, rah.
Right.
But
Right.
then it was a lot of like, okay, I had some friends that were also in that realm that were like, Keenan, you're pretty good at talking. You should stand up more and go say your piece about why you should do this. And, I kind of jumped in and did the advocacy thing for a couple of years, and then we won the vote. And
Got you.
got to move into the business side of things after that.
Got you. All right, good deal.
All right, hey Keenan, how you doing?
Good, man.
I actually have a couple questions. Sorry. And a little bonus question, and I hope you don't mind. That artwork on your hand, is that the chemical makeup of THC?
It sure is.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to ask.
It was my first tattoo I got after legalization.
Nice.
I waited like a month to like, is
Right.
this real?
Right.
Is it real? Do I really get to like sell weed for a living?
Right.
And then it was like after a month of it, I was like, all right, schedule the appointment. Let's go.
Wow. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, what challenges did you face when you were opening your shop?
Oh man, that's a long conversation right there. I
Look
mean,
here,
just-
man. We got time,
Yeah.
baby. We got time.
I mean, the challenges
As long as you
were
got the
numerous. Just like the landscape of how licensing went down was a challenge in itself. You had to have your property like located on your application, and then the applications could take up to a year to process. So you're paying rent that entire time. And so a lot of cannabis businesses failed before they got going while they were just waiting in line.
Oh, wow.
And we were lucky enough to really, prepared enough to be sending our application in with the first batches. And
Yeah.
to where we were one of the first ones processed and one of the first ones ready for inspection, and then
Yeah.
I think we were ultimately like the second inspected and the first one licensed for cultivation.
Oh, so you guys, Pakalolo, you are officially the first licensed.
We are
dis-
Alaska's first cannabis company, yeah.
Oh, I'll
Both
be
on
darned.
the grow side, and then we were Alaska's first legal sale, October 28th, 2016.
Nice.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
All right.
A lot of hard work went into being prepared and getting ready to start our grow on time and make ssure the plants were healthy and harvested and ready to go right when we could.
Okay, so you started from scratch. Okay, so was it like, because I know when we talked to Bobby, and he told us how he did. So prior to starting this, he had worked elsewhere in order to learn the craft.
Yeah.
Did you go elsewhere? Or was it all bam, just like on the fly?
Yeah, a lot of trial and error, a lot of experiments in my basement on just small hobby grow type stuff.
Yeah.
And then a lot of just like leaning on old grow experience.
Yeah.
And then with the store and everything, it was kind of putting together a team of like my brother who has a business degree from UAF and my dad who does as well and then has been working in the business industry for a long time. So those guys kind of wheeling the business side of things.
Yep.
And then it was kind of all of us kind of teaming up to like, all right, let's really figure out this grow. We realized we, kind of had a nice formula that we
Gotcha.
could repeat and make a like really super high quality product.
Gotcha. Okay. Good deal.
Another question I had for you, and I think this is one I'm really interested in. How do you ensure the quality and the safety of your products? You hear a lot, actually. I just read something the other day about they call it THCA.
Oh,
There was a shop in town, I'm not going to name
synthetic
any names.
cannabinoids, yeah.
Sure, and they were saying that those can be very unsafe, so obviously THC is going to be a lot safer.
Yeah,
But
I mean, personally, I would say that as far as the safety of that stuff, I don't really worry that much about it being unsafe. It's like, it's all cannabis, nothing can kill you. It's
Right.
not really that unsafe. But that store is not licensed.
Right.
That store was potentially selling to underage, was not following all these rules
Oh,
and regulations that we
yes.
have to follow.
Yes.
And we're not even allowed to sell untested products. So
everything's
a
tested.
lot of I mean, like, the consumer really needs to know what they're getting themselves into. It's still
Gotcha.
very new. I mean, we're nearly 9 years in, but it's still it's a new thing for a lot of people.
Right.
And so we really want to be very upfront with the consumers on, like, this is exactly what you're going to get. And so the state of Alaska put all these safeguards in place as far as, like, it gets tested for cleanliness, it gets tested for mold, it gets tested to make sure
wow.
that the product
Okay.
is safe. And every batch.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Honestly, it's a needed burden, but it's expensive, and we don't have a testing lab here in Fairbanks anymore. But yeah, every single batch.
Oh, okay. So why did the testing lab go away? I mean, because there's a lot of Pakalolos up here now.
Yeah, and everybody that's cultivating cannabis here in Fairbanks has to send their stuff down to Anchorage, or there's one in the valley. I think that's the one that we typically use. We've used every testing lab.
So there
There's
wasn't
only, like,
enough
4.
business in Fairbanks to keep that lab here open?
No, I definitely think that it was probably other problems with, it's a tough industry, and I don't think it was a lack of business, but just in general, this industry is not easy to operate and sustain a business. And
Right.
So
It's not?
yeah.
Really?
It ain't easy.
Okay.
Did you think we're just sitting down there printing money?
No, no, I didn't. No, not at all. Not at all. But because I'm so in my mind, because of how long it's been legalized, and with all the different warehouses like yours that are growing, so I would have thought that you would be out of that infancy period.
Well, I think we are kind of out of the infancy period, and now we're into the where's the market at period.
Oh,
And,
really?
So it's how much cannabis does this market need?
Right.
How many stores exactly? So there was a
Right.
big boom,
Right.
a lot of stores opening up,
Right.
and then now you're starting to see things spread out a little bit, and
Yeah.
we'll see over time, like, who makes it. Fairbanks isn't too saturated, but, like, we had a store in Anchorage. We had a 5-year contract to operate somebody else's license down in Anchorage as a Pakalolo.
Yes.
And so we had a store in Anchorage for 5 years, and near the end of that 5 years, we were still succeeding, but we saw that market just saturate.
Yeah.
As new stores opened.
Yeah,
and
that's a
new store
big
opened.
area down there.
It's a big area, and man, there's one on every block now.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a problem with that, other
Right.
than, are there enough consumers to support all these stores? And I think ultimately the answer is no in Anchorage. Here in Fairbanks, I think people have kind of settled out into the amount of stores that we have.
Right.
And, like, people kind of, find their places that they like to shop, and, everybody is pretty healthy at this moment. But, like, you open up 5 more stores, and then you'll see some shifts start to happen.
Okay, so I do have a question, and so I don't think it's a question that the three of us have to ask, but okay, so there are only a certain amount of alcoholic licenses that go around, and they're like gold, right?
Yeah.
Is that the same way?
Not
with,
exactly. Not
cannabis?
exactly. No, they the licenses are less transferable, and they're not exactly up for sale unless you're selling the entire business to an extent.
So there could be an infinite amount of weed shops opened up.
No, because zoning.
Oh, okay,
Right?
okay,
So, like,
gotcha.
zoning has it limited already. There's only so many places where a weed shop could potentially open up.
Gotcha.
Based on distances from, sensitive areas, schools, churches.
Oh, yeah.
yada, yada.
Okay.
There's
Right,
like
so-
3 right along here.
Yeah, that's why we're here in the railroad
Right.
industrial area.
Yeah.
We're away from any sensitive zones, but we're
Yeah.
still, right in the middle of the heart of Fairbanks. We're
Got
easy
you.
to get to.
Got you.
Okay. So, current trends in the industry.
Let's see, current trends in the industry.
What's the new thing?
Man, everybody carries a vape in their pocket now.
Yeah.
The consumption lounges are a new thing. That's kind of cool. There's 4 in the state. We operate one of them. We are the second one in the state to open. And so that's like very new here in Alaska, and you're starting to see it pop up in other states.
Right. Now, so the first one, if I'm not mistaken, was it also in Fairbanks, right?
Yeah, Good Titrations open
Yes,
first.
exactly.
Yep, they opened their cafe, and I think we had been planning it since the very beginning as well.
Yeah.
And they beat us to that race, and then we got to kind of watch them operate for a little bit.
Yeah.
And, as we were planning ours, like honestly, we would have tried to be in the middle of the race, but we had just done some expansion in our cultivation department.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we were kind of broke at that moment. Like
Yeah.
we got to sell some more weed before we can build a room for people to smoke weed. Now that the
Yeah.
state's finally allowing it. But we actually had the floor plan for the room
Right.
on our original application, and our plan was to just like sneak it by the state. Like,
Yeah.
They said yes, and then like we're just gonna do it and make them say no. And they like realized our plan before we started. And
Yeah.
They're like, hey, by the way, like you can't let people smoke there yet.
Oh,
It was
wow.
Like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we had to put that part of the room on pause.
Okay.
Operate just as a store for about 5 years.
Yeah.
In that time, we watched Good Titrations open up their lounge, which is
Yeah.
really cool. During that time, I also got married and went on my honeymoon to Amsterdam.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember those pictures. I remember
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah, I remember those Facebook
And so,
posts. Yeah.
me and my wife went to like 30 different legal
Yes,
shops.
I remember those
Like,
posts.
That was really fun for us to
Yeah.
spend our honeymoon just smoking through
Yeah.
Amsterdam, riding bikes around,
Yeah.
and saw the, like that had been in place for, 30, 40 years over
Right.
there, and see the culture of cannabis consumption there is so similar to craft beer here.
Right,
Like,
right.
people get off work and then go meet at the shop
Yeah.
and, hang out on a couch and watch the game while they pass a joint. And
Man.
It was, just so similar to what we're doing here with the beers.
I remember. So now. So I'm a federal employee. So legally, I can't smoke weed.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting until I retire from the federal government in order to take because I want to see because I've worked for the Army since I was 18. So and before I turned 18 and joined the Army, I lived in my parents' house and I was scared of my mom and dad, so I never smoked weed. So I want to find out. I want to see what all the hype is about, but
Yeah.
I can't do that until I retire from this job, unless they legalize it federally. Which, fingers crossed. Look here, if they legalize it federally, I'm coming to see you, baby.
Yeah, man.
Okay, but
Hurry up and retire. Let Snoop Tilden.
but okay, now so the Good Tritations, I remember going to the Cheesehead joint to pick up some food, and while I'm waiting on my food, I walk over I'm like, good Lord, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, wow, because I'd never been because I never had a reason to go in a weed shop because I can't because of my job, but because I was waiting on my food, I was like, well, let's just go through this door right here. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So, and you do like comedy shows and all that stuff.
Yeah, we got a big one coming up with a comedian from Chicago. It's
How
like
does that
nationally
work,
touring.
though? Okay, so how does that work, though, with you being in a weed shop and comedians and people smoking weed? Just like 10 times more laughs.
Yeah, it's funny because, basically the room functions the exact same as a bar,
Yeah.
except for with a different product.
Right.
We've got NA beers, so people are,
Right.
still sipping on stuff. We've got infused beverages. People have a drink in their hand. It's just a different product than the alcohol.
Right.
And yeah, like alcohol kind of makes you, gives you one effect, and
Less
cannabis
inhibitive,
gives you,
huh?
Yeah, like cannabis.
Inhibitions, yeah.
We have less hecklers than any alcohol comedy show.
Really?
But
can believe
sometimes
that.
we have like a thing where we have to like remind the comedians that like, hey, all of these people are going to be stoned and they might really like what you're saying and think it's very funny, but all they're doing is nodding their head and internally saying like, oh my God, that shit was so funny. But like out loud and like what it looks like is just like a stone face, like maybe a nod.
Yeah.
And so like the comedians get like a little bit rattled. They think
Yeah.
they're bombing, but actually like people are really enjoying it, but they're just like,
Yeah.
I'm high. I don't want to take up space.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
I don't
now,
want anybody
so-
to look at me right now and know how high I am.
So I was a judge at the annual wingding
Yeah,
competition, and then in the gift bag they gave us a gift bag, all the judges, and one of them was from your Pakalolo. Now, so I will tell you what, my wife says she loved that joint, man.
Love it. Love to hear it. Good.
My wife says she loved that
I'm glad
joint.
it went to good use.
Exactly. So it didn't go to waste. It didn't go to waste.
Right. Next question. How do you educate your customers about different strains and products?
Oh, that's a fun one. Like that's like the big thing with hiring employees is it's like getting people that are going to be really good at talking about it, that enjoy talking about the product.
Right.
That's our main thing, that people that enjoy the products and like to taste it.
Yeah.
Like to know the different nuances of how it makes you feel, how it tastes, all of that. And so it really starts with employee education. Mm-hmm. And a lot of employee education is like, do you like to get high? I'm going to send you home with weed every night. And so you have something to talk about with customers. And so, as far as like when the customers come in, like we try to just be, really super low pressure, just kind of like let them tell us what they're potentially looking for.
Right.
And then we'll kind of try to find something as close to that as we can.
Right.
I'll actually say something to that. I was in your shop for the first time just the other week.
Yeah.
And it was been such a long time since I've really used any type of THC in my job before this. I couldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it was just like that. The gal, I didn't catch her name, but she was listening to what I was saying, what I wanted, because I wasn't really sure what was out there. Kudos, she did a great job.
Hey,
I wish
right
I
on.
remembered her name.
I
but
love to hear it.
You got
Well,
a good setup there.
The whole team is really great down there, and it's all people that like really care about both about cannabis and about people.
Right.
And like just like selling you any old joint or whatever isn't necessarily going to bring you back to see us again. Like, or trying to upsell you more than you might want. Like that's I think common strategies that you see in this industry and a lot of industries is like upselling and shit like that. And I find that to be like kind of obnoxious, and like it's not necessarily going to bring you back. Like the thing that's going to bring you back is if you come in looking for something fairly specific, we try to get you as close to that as possible.
Right.
And that so you're like, hey, that shit worked, or that was cool. Can I try something a little different? Like the stuff that's going to make somebody want to come back and see us again.
And I'll be doing probably a lot more trying now that
Yeah.
I can, because I am interested. Things have changed greatly since I used to smoke pot.
It's a lot more dialed in to where you can
Correct.
be a little bit more specific about like what you're trying to feel, what you're trying to do. It can be, purely recreational. Like I want something that's gonna, be good for going for a long walk, or something that's gonna help me sleep at night.
Now,
And then
so
it can be
are
pills or
you-
gummies or smoke.
Right.
Now, so are you like a medicinal dispensary as well?
So there's not really a medicinal dispensaries here in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
Everything is licensed under the same
Oh,
recreational 21
so
plus
that's
license.
a California thing then.
Yeah, like a few states already established. Like California established a medical, and then they established like a medical market and medical stores, like medical dispensaries.
Okay.
Alaska had a medical market, but all that medical market was allowing for home grow for medical purposes. So like,
Right.
if you were to have a medical card here in Alaska prior to the rec legalization, would be like you could appoint somebody else to grow for you and have somebody grow your medicine. But it really wasn't a market where, like California, where there was companies, people making products.
Okay.
It was just basically like a safeguard. You're not going to get in trouble for growing your medicine
Gotcha.
here in
Gotcha.
Alaska. So when we started our rec companies and rec licensing, those were the first companies to enter the market. Where
Right.
California kind of had a dual market. They already had some companies doing the medical thing that either converted
Right.
or they, operated a medical store and a recreational store. The medical store had like a different taxation process.
Yeah.
So it's all confusing, like legal mumbo jumbo at this point. There's no difference in the products. It's just how the legalization goes down for that business.
Okay.
A medical grow and a recreational grow are the same exact plants.
Oh.
There's no difference in cannabis. Cannabis is cannabis.
Right.
Medical and recreational is all just like the license that you hold on that says you're allowed to do it.
Right.
And so like there's no, like, recreational cannabis is just as medicinal.
Right,
It's just like we're licensed to sell it to anybody 21 plus, and it doesn't have to go through a medical provider necessarily.
Got you.
Just anybody can come in and get it.
Got you.
And so people can kind of experiment with that, or like, you know, like my sister has a doctor in Washington that she confers with. That's like her UW doctors and her Seattle Children's doctors and her holistic doctor all talk to each other down there.
Right.
We don't have as many doctors that talk about cannabis here in Fairbanks or here in Alaska.
Yeah.
But there might be a few at this point that will kind of like, hey, you might want to try this.
Oh, okay.